the shattering revelation. I stood frozen in the doorway of our bedroom, the champagne bottle slipping from my numb fingers and shattering against the hardwood floor like the fragile illusion of my marriage. The room reeked of sweat and cheap perfume. His perfume, the one that clung to my boss's tailored suits during those endless board meetings. There she was, my wife of 8 years, Elena, sprawled across our king-sized bed, her legs wrapped around him like vines choking a dying tree. Mark Hargrove, the silver-haired predator who'd climbed the corporate ladder on the backs of men like me, thrust into her with a guttural laugh, oblivious to the world crumbling around them. She gasped his name, her nails raking down his back, and in that instant, I saw the ultrasound photo peeking from her nightstand, the tiny, damning proof of their betrayal growing inside her. 8 months of lies, of her feigned nausea and secret rendezvous in his corner office, all while I slaved away promoting his ego-driven empire. Humiliation burned through me like acid, hot tears blurring the scene, but beneath it, a darker fire ignited, the unquenchable hunger for revenge. They hadn't seen me yet, but when they did, the real explosion would begin, not with screams, but with the slow, deliberate dismantling of everything they held dear. The days blurred into a haze of calculated silence after that night. I didn't scream or throw things. No, that would have been too merciful, too immediate. Instead, I became a ghost in my own home, watching Elena waddle through her pregnancy with that radiant glow she reserved for stolen moments. She'd pat her belly during dinner, cooing about our little miracle, her eyes flickering with guilt she mistook for my ignorance. I smiled, poured her herbal tea, and inside, the rage festered like an open wound, whispering plans that kept me awake until dawn. Mark, oblivious in his glass-walled kingdom at Apex Dynamics, promoted me that week, a condescending pat on the back for loyalty, he called it, his hand lingering too long on my shoulder. I nodded, thanked him, and filed away every detail. The offshore accounts he bragged about in golf games, the mistresses he juggled like poker chips, the boardroom secrets he'd buried to shield his fortune. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon of erosion. I started small, planting seeds of doubt. At work, I accidentally leaked an email chain to HR. Nothing damning, just enough to flag Mark's inappropriate late-night texts to female subordinates. Whispers spread like wildfire through the cubicles. Hargrove's got a wandering eye again. He laughed it off in meetings, but I saw the twitch in his jaw, the way his gaze darted to me, suspecting nothing yet. Home was my true battlefield. Elena's cravings became my weapons. I'd forget her prenatal vitamins, watch her panic as the baby kicked harder, her body betraying her with exhaustion. "You're so tired lately, love," I'd murmur, massaging her swollen feet while imagining them chained in regret. Our friends noticed the chill, dinners where I'd stare through her, excuses piling up like unpaid bills. My brother, Alex, cornered me one night over beers. "What's eating you, man? You're like a shadow." I shrugged, the weight of my secrets pressing on my chest, turning brotherly concern into another casualty. "Just work," I lied, but the isolation gnawed at me, a constant ache that mirrored the void Elena had carved in my soul. Nights were the worst. I'd lie beside her, listening to the rhythmic kick of the child that wasn't mine, my mind a storm of what-ifs turned to blueprints. Justice or destruction? The line blurred in those fevered hours. Part of me, the broken husband, yearned to expose them, to shatter her world with the truth and watch her crumble. But destruction called louder, not just exposure, but annihilation. I pored over financial records in the dim glow of my laptop, uncovering Mark's web of embezzlement from company funds, funneled into a Cayman Islands slush fund for his vices. Elena's involvement was subtler, lavish gifts, designer bags she'd hidden in the attic, funded by my promotions he'd dangled like bait. The burden consumed me. Meals turned to ash in my mouth. Sleep evaded me like a thief. My reflection in the mirror showed hollow eyes, a man hollowed out by hatred, decisions driven not by ambition but by the pulse of vengeance. I alienated Alex further, snapping at his offers of help, pushing away our mutual friends who sensed the fracture. "You're changing, bro," he said one last time before I cut him off, the phone slamming down like a guillotine. Isolation was my armor, but it chafed. A constant reminder that revenge's price was solitude, a life reshaped in shadows. As Elena's due date loomed, the plan crystallized. I'd gathered evidence, screenshots of their hotel bookings, voice recordings of pillow talk I'd bugged into our bedroom, financial trails linking her spending sprees to his dirty money. But it wasn't enough. I needed to twist the knife deeper, to make them feel the humiliation I'd endured. I hacked into Mark's personal email, child's play with the IT access he'd granted me in a fit of false trust, and scheduled anonymous tips to his wife, his investors, the board. Your husband's knocking up subordinates. The subject lines read, attachments dripping with proof. Elena's phone buzzed incessantly now, friends gossiping about that affair rumor, her facade cracking under the strain. She confronted me tearfully one evening, her belly a mocking dome between us. Do you think something's wrong with me? With us? I held her, whispering comforts that tasted like bile. The internal war raging. Justice demanded exposure, but destruction craved their total ruin. The baby was due any day, and with it, my first strike. I felt the burden lighten slightly, a perverse thrill surging through the exhaustion, propelling me forward. Revenge wasn't just shaping my life. It was becoming my lifeblood, poisoning every breath, every choice. And as the contractions began that stormy night, I smiled in the dark. The real storm was just beginning. The hospital room echoed with Elena's screams as the baby emerged, a boy, pink and squalling, with Mark's unmistakable cleft chin staring back at me from the bassinet. Nurses cooed congratulations, but I stood apart, a spectator to the farce, my heart a forge hammering out the final blows. Elena, sweat-soaked and delirious, reached for my hand. Our son, David, he's perfect. I squeezed back, the lie steady on my tongue. He is. But inside, the dam broke. That night, as she slept off the epidural haze, I slipped into the shadows of the corridor, dialing the anonymous line I'd set up weeks prior. Tell the board everything. I whispered to the investigator I'd hired under a ghost alias, forwarding the last damning files. Mark's falsified contracts, the kickbacks from shady suppliers, Elena's name woven through it all as the consultant who'd greased palms with my unwitting salary. The board's emergency meeting was set for dawn. By morning, Apex Dynamics would be a bloodbath. The fallout hit like a tidal wave. Mark's empire cracked first, stock plummets, FBI inquiries, his smug face plastered across news feeds as embezzler extraordinaire. He called me from a frantic burner phone, voice cracking with desperation. David, you son of a bitch, help me out here. For old time's sake. Laughter bubbled up, dark and triumphant. Old times, like the ones you spent balls deep in my wife. Silence, then a choked plea, but I hung up, the power intoxicating. Elena woke to the headlines, her phone exploding with texts. Slut, homewrecker, how could you? She clutched the baby, eyes wild, begging me to explain. It's a mistake, David, swear it. I let her unravel, watching the woman who'd betrayed me dissolve into hysterics, her perfect life fracturing like cheap glass. The burden of revenge, once a crushing weight, now fueled me, decisions sharp as razors. I filed for divorce that afternoon, citing infidelity with ironclad proof, stripping her of alimony, custody a battle she'd lose in family court amid the scandal. But destruction demanded more. I targeted their sanctuaries next. Mark's mansion, bought with stolen funds, foreclosed within weeks, auctioned off to the highest bidder while he scrambled in a seedy motel, his second wife fleeing with half his remaining assets. I anonymously tipped off the press about Elena's role, turning her social media into a cesspool of vitriol. Old friends unfollowed in droves, her yoga mom circle branding her a pariah. The baby, little Mark Jr., as she'd whispered in her sleep, became collateral, shuttled between indifferent relatives as Elena spiraled into breakdowns, popping pills to numb the isolation I'd orchestrated. My own life warped under the blaze. Promotions evaporated in the company's purge, colleagues eyeing me with suspicion, but I didn't care. The fire drove me, late nights in dive bars plotting escalations, the internal torment a twisted symphony. Justice felt hollow without their screams, destruction the only melody that soothed. Alex tried reaching out once more, voicemail pleading, David, whatever this is, it's destroying you too. I deleted it, the severance from family a scar I wore proudly, proof of my resolve. People around me scattered like leaves in a gale, neighbors gossiping, my few allies ghosting under the toxic aura I exuded. Revenge reshaped me into a specter, hollowed but unbreakable, every breath a vow renewed. The climax brewed in a rain-lashed parking garage 3 months later. Mark cornered me after a deposition, face gaunt, eyes feral with cornered rat rage. You think this ends it? I'll bury you. He lunged, fists flying, but I was ready, pepper spray from my coat, a knee to his gut crumpling him like paper. Elena burst from the shadows, mascara streaked, baby on her hip, shrieking for mercy. David, please, we were wrong, but the child's innocent. Her plea hung, a ghost of the woman I'd loved, but the fire roared louder. I revealed the final card, forged documents routing her gifts to IRS fraud charges. Mark's Cayman accounts frozen, their escape routes sealed. Innocent, like you were when you spread for him. I spat, watching them clutch each other in the downpour, broken shells of their former glory. No quarter given. I walked away as sirens wailed, their world in ashes. In the end, the brutal revenge echoed through boardrooms and tabloids, a legend whispered in hushed tones. The cuckolded employee's masterpiece of ruin. Mark rotted in federal prison, Elena a ghost haunting welfare lines, the child a pawn in foster limbo. I stood atop the rubble, unscathed yet scarred, the cost a life of echoes, empty victories in a void of my making. They still talk about it, a cautionary blaze, cross a man like me, and burn eternal. Moral of the story. Revenge is a voracious flame that devours the betrayer whole, but leaves the avenger forever charred in its unrelenting glow.